Crouse. And I guess final show of the season, Artistic Director Courtney Crouse with us, the director of Almost Heaven, Amy Fritsche. Hope we get that at least close to the right pronunciation. And talking about Almost Heaven. But before we get to that, some of the details there. Courtney, final show of the season. I guess you still got a couple weeks to go yet, but I guess in retrospect, what's the first season been like as the artistic director of the Clinton Area Showboat Theater?
Oh, just wonderful. It's been a great season for me, but only because we've surrounded ourselves with the best people. We've had a wonderful crew, wonderful cast, wonderful directors coming in and designers. So it's just been great, and the community's been wonderful. I hope everyone's enjoyed the shows, and this last one we have is really special. And I hope everyone's got their tickets, and if you haven't, get them now. We're going to tell you a little bit about it.
From the professional standpoint, from you, I guess we maybe have talked a little bit about this. Artistic director, have you done this kind of job before? I know you've been around theater, obviously, you've done things. Is this your first time being in charge, or have you done other things similar?
I've done other things similar. In the city, I worked for a theater for about a decade where I was the assistant to the artistic director, the casting director, and the production manager, which basically means I was a big part of running the theater. Additionally, I also was the associate artistic director and casting director for a while for the Timberlake Playhouse. So I've done a few things like this, but certainly I think anyone would tell you that you go into any job being like, oh, I feel like I'm pretty prepared for all this, and there's certainly one or two things that get thrown your way. You know what I mean?
Only one or two?
Only one or two. Yeah, a few curveballs. But listen, it's been a wonderful job. This is a position that I've wanted for a long time. I've wanted to be at a theater and be able to do this and bring in these kind of people and do these kind of shows. So it's really a privilege for me to be here.
And once the season's over, where do you go back to?
I go back to Columbia, Missouri. I adjunct teach at my old BFA university. It's called Stevens College Conservatory for the Performing Arts in Columbia, Missouri, which if anyone knows the University of Missouri, MU, it's the same place where MU is. So I'm going back there, and I've got a show to direct at the conservatory, and then there's another theater, a wonderful place called the Maples Repertory Theater, about an hour north, and I'm doing some shows there. And so just gonna do that for the winter.
And when you start getting ready for your debut on the Clinton Showboat stage next summer?
What are you talking? Now you talking about the show I'm in?
Yeah.
Oh dear. Well, if I am in that one, it will be this slot. So actually, it'll be about a year, 2 weeks ago will be when I start preparing. Yeah.
I guess Amy will jump in directing Almost Heaven. I guess where do you come from to direct this show?
Sure. I am from the Ohio area. I currently am a professor at Kent State University, and Courtney and I met a couple years ago actually in the Okoboji, Iowa area, directing a show there. He was directing the show right before me, and we hit it off and became friends and have over the last couple years talked about artistic collaborations and conversations, and he asked me what my thoughts and ideas were about the show, and we kind of hit stuff back and forth. I have an aunt and uncle who live in the Snowmass Aspen area who have been there since the 60s and 70s, have known John Denver and and I grew up on his music in that area, in that part of the world, and so this show just really resonated with me, and so we had conversations about that, and I was able to be brought in, and I am able to now direct this show, and it's a beautiful, beautiful show with a really phenomenal cast, and I think the audiences are just going to be drawn in by the music, by the environment, by the actors, and just have a really wonderful evening.
Have you directed the show, but been involved in it before?
I have never been involved in this show before. It's a little gem that not a lot of people do, so it was one that I got to do a lot of research on so that I had a better understanding of just kind of the minutia and the in and out of John Denver's life, and so I could help weave that through so the audience could feel like they started to understand John a little bit more. So we had an experience in which the cast of Bright Star came and saw it, and so they resonated with it, and it was really wonderful to see 20-year-olds see this music and see that the life of John Denver and have a reaction to it, where the rest of us who've grown up with this music, we just know it and understand it. And it was nice to introduce it to a whole new generation. So it's wonderful that it doesn't matter the generation. Bring your kids, have everybody come, because the music and the story is still important, and it still speaks to everybody today. And it's still as important today as it was in the 60s and 70s.
I had to back up a bit. It says, and maybe both of you tossed in, it's like he says, is this how it works? Is you know somebody. We talk often about how you get actors. And you do auditions and submit videos, and you go to cattle calls, auditions, and this and that. But Amy's in directing a show. Do directors audition? Do they say, hey, Courtney, I like this show. Can I come direct? How do you find, how does that side of it work? We talk often about the actors, but we don't often talk about the directors, because you have a different director for every show.
Sometimes, yeah.
How do you find them? And Amy, how do you decide, I want to go to Clinton, Iowa and direct this show?
Well, it's not dissimilar to how we find the actors. And directors don't necessarily audition per se, but sometimes they do. You know, we get submissions from all over the country, from people in New York and LA and everywhere that want to come here and do things. And some people are really, really good. Everyone's different. I tend to want to hire people where I've seen their work, I've met them, you know, I know what kind of person they are. Summer theater is kind of a different beast than other shows, you know what I mean? You all kind of live together. It's a real small time that you have to get the show up. So with Amy, how it happened, which is how it happens a lot, we were working at this other theater, and the show that I was doing was a play, and it was not particularly difficult. It was a small play, had about 3 people. And Amy was doing a show called Legally Blonde. I know everyone's heard of the movie, and I'm sure many people have seen the musical. And if you have seen that musical, it is, when Amy asked me, I think she said, after I watched it, she said, what'd you think? And I said, I feel like someone just took an IV full of sugar and put it straight in my veins and just shot it for 2 hours. It's fast. There's a lot of people. There's a lot of dancing, a lot of moving. It never, ever stops. And as a director, it's very difficult. It was very difficult. I watched it being like, wow, you know, in a rehearsal process of about 10 to 12 days to put a show up like this is very difficult. And then I met Amy, and she had such a wonderful energy about her. You know, some people, you have to put a show up like that and you talk to them and they're like, oh my gosh, you know, I don't know what to do with all these actors and everything. Just calm as a cucumber, you know. And like she said, we got along extremely well. And we'd spoken about this for a few years. And the thing also that I love about Amy is the show that I brought Amy in to direct here, Almost Heaven Songs, John Denver, is a show that normally I would direct, because my specialty is actor-musician stuff. And I never let anyone else do it, because frankly, I don't like how many other people can do those shows. They tend to go a certain way that I don't think they're very good. And I let Amy have this show because not only had I seen her skills at a show that was much more difficult to put up in a much smaller time span, and not only did I like her very, very much, but she understands this kind of show like I understand this kind of show, I believe. And these are different shows. You know, Dave, some people are choreographers and they come into a show and they have that mindset, right? This show's going to be a big dance show. You know, some people come in and they say, oh, I did a show in college, and they were like, this is a stage combat show. This is about the fighting. You know what I mean? This is about this. You know, you need a special kind of person that comes in and says, this is an actor-musician show where we're playing and singing on stage, where we're creating the whole environment. No one ever leaves. And it can be difficult, and Amy has done a beautiful job. And I'm so thankful that we met when we did 3 or 4 years ago, and that we were able to collaborate on this. And that's how it works. You know, you hopefully you meet someone, you like their work, you like them, and then a project works out. So yeah, not unlike most other businesses, I would think.
Amy, you obviously done this kind of stuff in your off season of the summertime from college. Do you travel around to direct shows in the summertime for fun?
I do.
Maybe a little money, but fun.
Yeah. I am an actor director, and I choreograph as well, as Courtney was saying, and so I have gone to many places and directed and choreographed and acted, depending on the contracts that's coming my way. I work professionally all over, depending on where the world is taking me. And there was something really special about this show being an actor-musician show. There is something really unique about creating the ensemble that comes into that in the family that needs to be made really fast on stage. These humans have to know how to communicate just by eye contact and that feel and that give and take, and so that they can bring themselves in, and so therefore they can bring the audience in. And so it's really fun to create that type of a family. And Courtney does such a wonderful job of bringing in a team, in that everybody on stage, all of our actors, all 6 people, are phenomenal. They're phenomenal actors, they're phenomenal singers, they're phenomenal musicians. And so starting off at that playing field was just fun. And then Connor, who is our music director, is also really wonderful. And so he's the one who taught everybody the music itself, and then his and I's collaboration of bringing the world to life is really great. So just the team of the people that everybody's going to see on stage, but I don't know if the audience who is going to come realize, but there's at least 40 people backstage who bring this thing to life. The ones who build the sets, the ones who build the costumes, the ones who are making sure that your tickets are there. And that team is really phenomenal as well. So there really just is this family feel that we are here collectively to tell this really beautiful story of just John Denver and Almost Heaven, and just allowing this music to speak for what is happening. And I just feel really lucky that I get to come and direct and be a part of this. And I will take those gigs all day long. This is easy. I will take these easy gigs with people I like all day long.
You made a point that you've known you're going to direct this show for some time.
Yes.
Do you get to play a part in picking the actors who are going to be in the show at all, or is that all up to Courtney? And then you're just then all of a sudden you walk in on day one of rehearsal and you don't know these people. How much?
Yeah, I think this. I mean,
how does that work?
Well, this show in particular was hard, so it took me a minute to cast it, and pretty much I just kind of throw over the cast. But I will say that because it's me and Amy, I think every time I had someone, I sent it to you first.
Did, yeah.
Yeah, so when I would get someone, I got quite a few submissions, and I'd get someone that I really liked. And I would send it to Amy, and I would say, I really like this person. What do you think? And she would say, oh, no. Or I don't think she ever said, oh, no, because I think everyone I sent her, we really liked. And I think that's how we did it, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was really lovely. Yeah, it was just, this whole thing has been really just a collaborative, joyous, oh, what do you think? I like that. Maybe this, but kind of that. And it's just been a really great creative process.
Now, Amy's directing the show, Courtney, what do you do? Because I know you've directed, how many, one of the shows? 2? I don't remember.
Yeah, 2. I did Addams Family and then Bright Star. Yeah.
What do you do when you're not directing?
I sit back and watch Amy's genius. No, my job a lot of times when I'm not directing is really just to facilitate. My job is to bring in the best people I can find to do a show. That's my job as producer. And then if I have done my job in that way correctly, which I would like to say with this show, I think I definitely did, then all I really need to do is sit back and kind of make sure everything's going okay. Every now and then I might step in if there's something I need to say, or something I really feel really strongly about. But really, it's just being a facilitator at this point, and making sure Amy has a great experience, making sure the design team and the show come together as I think it needs to on the boat.
I know, but you mentioned the John Denver music, and you mentioned 6 actors all on stage. Can you give us a synopsis? If somebody's not familiar with John Denver music, how would you describe the show? I mean, Amy says you're directing it. Well, how would you describe the show if they're not familiar with that, or maybe they can't quite picture a show built around
actor musicians? That's a new concept that they've never. So you're going to have 6 people on stage who are playing all of the instruments. So there is no orchestra. So you have 3 people playing a guitar. 4 people playing a guitar, depending on one of them keeps switching out. Lisa, who is an amazing musician, she's going to be playing the violin and the mandolin and the guitar. We have Connor, who is on stage with them, also playing the piano. So the guitar, all of the instruments are on stage, and the actors are the ones generating all of the music. They're the ones telling the story. So it is storytelling through song and also a concert. It feels a lot like I'm going to a concert, a folk music concert, in which I am going to be watching people sing songs that are really fun, that I can tap my feet to, want to sing along to, but probably shouldn't, and enjoy being part of a community enjoying live music, while also being moved because you now have 6 actors who are telling these songs. And so not only are you getting the awesomeness of fantastic songs, you are also getting brilliant storytellers. And so a song like Sunshine on My Shoulders makes me happy, Sunshine on My Shoulders makes me cry. You have an actor telling that, and so me as the audience member, I get drawn into the story while also watching somebody sing the song beautifully and play instruments. And so it's a beautiful mashup of both worlds. You get a concert and you have storytelling that's happening at the same time.
So you don't actually have somebody playing the role of John Denver in this?
No, yes and no. You know what, Dave? You're going to have to come see the show, I think. You know, the other thing that I love about this show, too, is that we've got these beautiful, beautiful projections. So the entire show is played against a backdrop of these images from the 60s and 70s, with the times, with some war images, a lot of images of just outdoors. You're transported to Utah, you're transported to Montana, Colorado. And also, I want to put this out there, too. I have a thing, anytime I do $1 Million Quartet, I tell people that this is a show for people who don't like musicals. And people think that that's pretty much true. And I'm going to say that this show is also, if you're someone that's like, I'm not really a musical person, but you really like folk music, you really like country music, you really like bluegrass, anything, you really like John Denver, this is a show that you are going to especially like. It's not, it's not going to throw a bunch of musical theater in your face, not a lot of dancing and crazy production numbers. It's just these people, they're grounded, they look wonderful, the set is wonderful, and they sound just heavenly.
And you put this all together. You mentioned this, you got 6 actors all of a sudden, and some have been here, some are new. Can you force them to become one? Or do you have to let that happen?
You have to let that happen. The nice, beautiful thing about theater is that we are, in a sense, forced to spend a fair amount of time
Forced intimacy.
Yes. You're forced to spend a fair amount of time together. I joke that in summer stock, which is what this type of theater is, in our industry, it's called summer stock theater, is a day is a week and a week is a month. And so the experiences that you would have in a general week, you can put into a day because the amount of work that you are doing within that day. And so the work that you do, the concentrated specificity allows everybody to be moving in the same direction towards the same goal to achieve something collectively that is bigger than themselves will always create an ensemble.
Is that because of the kind of people who go into theater?
It's because
is that
of
the personality of those people who tend to go into theater?
It's because it's the kind of people that Courtney brought together. And so it's the kind of people who have heart, who love what we're doing, who have a passion for storytelling, who are kind, who are collaborative, who are joyful, and who want to be in the room. Because that's not always the case, but Courtney's been very strategic about the team that he brought together specifically for this show. And so it's just been a joy.
Dave, I knew this one was going to be at the end, and I knew I was going to be real tired, so I thought I'm going to do this one so it just has the top-notch team, so I really can do what we talked about a minute ago, so I can just sit back. Amy, if there's one person that I trust in the director's chair as much as myself, it's Amy. That's why I brought her in, and we got some wonderful people, and in a weird way, it's actually completely the opposite. But it's like when you're in basic training. You know what I mean? I think it's like that kind of thing where it's that kind of intensity, it's that kind of group mentality working toward a goal to where, the men, if you've been in basic training or anything like that for 3 days a week, you feel like they're your brothers, a band of brothers, and it's not dissimilar in our industry. I mean, it's completely dissimilar for what we do, you know what I mean? But that's the environment.
I mean, you direct shows. Do you sit at opening night, sit in the back of the theater, and watch as an audience member? How do you watch a show you've directed when it's on stage and in a sense your work is done? I often hear this. I sometimes always amazed as the director of a show may leave before the show ever gets on the stage. I don't know, but do you ever sit as a director of a show and my work is done? I sit back and watch it with a different eye.
I would love to think I could, but I will always find the thing that I no longer have control of fix. I mean, you just can't help it. The thing that I love and am frustrated about what we do is that it's never done. Is there is always the next thing that you would have loved to evolve, that you would have loved to continue on, that you would have loved to have changed. But that's, I think, why we keep doing art, is because it's never done. And so therefore we want to keep expanding. And that is why I enjoy watching it. It's also why I'm not going to be able to see closing night, but there is something beautiful about, I just directed a show at another location, and I was able to see opening night, and then I was able to come back and see closing night, and I missed the weeks in between. And where the cast grew to because it's not mine anymore, it's theirs. And so tonight's the night where I get to, it is the cast's show.
Yeah, because once it's open, as a director, Amy can't, even if she says, oh, no, I don't like this. Well, I mean, I don't know, maybe we could, but no, we couldn't. If she says, no, I don't like this number, I want to change it. It's done.
You can't change. You
cannot change it. Even if we wanted to, we cannot change it. Is that just theater
understanding, or is that the way it works?
It is a little theater understanding, and it is also... we have a union, there's like a lot of stuff, but yeah, it's pretty much a rule everywhere, except maybe I think in high schools or something. No. But once the show is open, what we say is the show is frozen. That is the terminology, and that means, as an actor, Amy and I are actors as well. Maybe we want to go out and I thought of something funny. I want to do this line different tonight, or I want to try this bit a little different, or come out from a different entrance. Nope. The show is frozen, and that goes for the director's side, that goes for the actor's side, and that is just pretty much industry standard, yeah.
You watch it, and you talk about people watch this show, and do you watch a show too and says, you direct the show, and Courtney, you direct shows, this is going to get this kind of reaction, and this song, and then it doesn't happen the way you anticipate. The real audience comes in, and does that ever happen? Is that and then something that you didn't think was that funny or that entertaining all of a sudden becomes the bit piece that everybody loves?
All the time. There are times in which it ebbs and flows, and the cool part about live theater, which is the reason why I love live theater, is it will change daily. So there are going to be days in which on a Tuesday matinee it hits this audience, and then on a Friday night it's going to hit that audience different. And so the performance collectively in that room will become collectively that show where those group of people are experiencing it together, and that show will never be the same again. And so the audience will have seen something special, and those actors will have done something special, and then that hits for that group of people, and that one's finite, and then it becomes something different the next time. So yes, it hits different, and then sometimes you go, oh, well, that one didn't work, or that one did work, and that from an actor point of view, you're like, okay, I can change things on my side to be able to garner or get the reactions that you want, and then sometimes you just let it go and let the audience be who they are that night.
Is that especially doing with young actors? Is that hard for them to grasp that as hard as they work, that maybe that maybe what they're thinking isn't the reaction they're getting?
Yes.
That's pretty simple.
It can be very, one of the most challenging things, and listen, when I was a young actor, it was very similar, but one of the most challenging things as a young actor is to understand that there are some audiences, whether because of their temperament or their demographic, they just don't respond the same as an audience that's coming in hooping and hollering. and that doesn't mean that they are enjoying the show any less. So yeah, sometimes you get, an actor comes, they say, oh, the Sunday matinee today, I don't understand, they weren't enjoying it. I didn't hear them laugh when I said this line. They didn't clap when I did this. And it's really hard because the thing we were just talking about, right? The show is frozen and you have to go out and do the same show every night. And sometimes you're doing it to a painting that's got no charm, that's just, there's nothing there. And then sometimes you're doing it to a real live audience. But you have to give the same performance every night. There's 5 people in the audience that are screaming and hollering. If there's 250 people in the audience that aren't saying a word, you got to give them the same performance every time.
Amy, anything else you want to throw in about your stint here in Clinton, directing the show?
It's been a really wonderful time, and I just truly hope that people come out and see this beautiful special show, because it's going to be a really inviting, fun night at the theater.
Courtney, final time in, I guess, for this summer anyway.
Yeah, I just want to say, I want to reiterate what Amy said. This is a wonderful show. And I also want to say, Dave, I think you know Chris Streets. You know our friend Chris Streets.
Yeah, well, I know Chris.
Oh, yeah, some of you may know Chris. I hear he's on the radio as well. Chris Streets is our board president. Chris and I are very good friends. But Chris and I have a bet. Chris Streets, Dave, doesn't believe that we have enough John Denver fans in the area to fill even one performance of Almost Heaven, the Songs of John Denver. He said, Courtney, I bet you can't sell out one show. And Chris and I have a little bet, and I would very much like to prove Chris wrong. And I know anyone that knows Chris would very much like to prove Chris wrong.
Just to prove him wrong.
Absolutely. Teachers,
what's
parents.
on the line? Dunk tank?
I'm not going to tell you. I'm not going to tell you what's on the line unless I win, and then I'll tell you. But please help me win this. This is a beautiful, beautiful show. You don't need any other reason to see it other than that. But if you did need a reason, we must defeat Chris Streets. Defeat the streets. Hashtag defeat the streets. I just made it up.
Get that on your social media.
Defeat the streets hashtag. You hear that, streets? I'm coming for you. It's truly a beautiful show. And like Amy said, I mean, this is a group of people that are very special. And like I always say, this might be the best time to get to see them. The next time you see these people, you might have to take a much longer drive, and you might have to pay a lot more for tickets, because we have some fantastic actors here with us.
Courtney, Amy, thanks for coming in today to talk about Almost Heaven. I got to remember the title of the song on the Showboat. Box office opens in about 45 minutes.
About 45 minutes. Almost Heaven, the Songs of John Denver.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Amy. Thanks, Courtney.
Thank you.